Good afternoon everybody, and welcome to Wild Earth this afternoon. And what a wonderful find, a leopard tortoise, and hopefully you could see the size of her. She was about this big. Beautiful colours on her, yellows and browns, and that's where she gets her name from, a leopard tortoise. Back in front of control is Craig. So let's see what else we can find in the beautiful African bush here in Jimmy Game Reserve this afternoon. She's already disappeared into the thick bush. Beautiful. Now if there was a male around, he'd be slightly smaller generally, and if he's interested in mating, he'll knock her shell to try and encourage her to stop moving, so that he's able to try and mate with her. Quite an interesting behaviour. I've seen it once here so far. Been lucky enough to catch it on camera, and with it being extremely warm here in Jimmy Game Reserve, we're seeing a lot of movement by the reptiles, including the tortoises. We're keeping a lookout for any snakes and lizards and things like that to show you. Trouble is, they're a little bit too quick sometimes. Afternoon here. If anyone asks any questions, please do send them through to control@safari.tv. They have been out and about over midday. It's been quite nice and overcast, so it's been a very pleasant temperature. The sun started coming out just as we were going live. It's been quite hot. So I'm hoping to check a lot of the dams this afternoon, see if there's any rhinos wallowing in the mud or any buffalo, because we are too short of a big 5 day. So we're on the lookout of those two this afternoon, as well as Karula. I didn't find any tracks of hers, but I'm hoping to go a bit further east and maybe catch up with those lions too. See if anybody's around Chelapan at the moment. Oh, we have the baboons and impala. Baboon sitting in the tree there. So if you're there, where's the rest of the troop? That, and it's not but wherever the baboons are eating, they might drop food on the floor that the impala can make use of. There are other antelope or deer that also make use. Ah, there comes the rest of the troop actually. So I'm going to just pull forward because she's moving into that grass. go past this bush. You don't want to get too close and disturb the one in the tree. And there's a couple more in the bush in front of us. And when the baboons are on the ground, they can make use of the impala. Impala are obviously much taller than they are, so they could tap earlier. But when the baboons are in the trees, again the impala can make use of their eyesight. There's the mother and baby again. I'm not too sure which one that is. Could be LB, could be Mrs. Psycho. The baboons have been given names by Graham Cook, who has been researching the baboons. There's the other one. She's coming out in front of us. She might be easier to see. He's a ranking member of the troop, which he's not too worried about. He doesn't have to try and fight his way to the top. But he's able to go and sit with them, and they recognise him and his quad bike, and being able to see into their lives and try and understand the behaviour of this small troop. And he said some of the things that he's seeing has never been seen or recorded before. It's very special what we have here. Again, you can see the impala in fairly close. In India with, I forget the type of monkey that they associate with, but it's a similar setup. The monkeys will eat and drop fruit and leaves on the floor, and the deer can eat it. And again, they both benefit from each other's good sight and smell, detecting predators and hearing. And there's a mother sitting right up on top of the tree now. You can see the baby extremely well. I wonder if we can pan up there. There she is. And if there is anybody wanting to keep a close watch on the Gowrie gang and their movements, they do have a Facebook page. And when Graham goes out, he does put out new pictures of them and reports on what they've been up to, and you can learn a lot about our baboon troop here in Juma Game Reserve. So that's the Gowrie gang, if you'd like to follow them a bit closer. Look at that. Generally, you'll have a group of males. It's an oligarchy society, so maybe 3, 4, 5 males will be in charge of the group, and they'll have certain females that they associate with. But in this troop, holding on to that baby, making sure it doesn't fall. But in this troop, they actually paired off at one stage. There was the same amount of males as there was to females, and each went off as a couple, which is quite an unusual behaviour. baby's reaching probably about a month old, maybe even 6 weeks old. I think we have a little star in the making there. Hi Brian, great to hear from you. And welcome on board this afternoon. And Brian asking if the baboons had a chance to kill a baby impala, would they? I think it really depends on how much food is available or not. It has been recorded in different species of baboons. Generally the big males have been known to kill even cheetah cubs. But I think it does have a lot to do with the amount of food available, and we've yet to see this troop doing that here, so I think they're finding why. It may happen. And generally young are born in the safety of the trees at night. Baboons, even though they'll spend a lot of time on the ground during the day looking for food, they'll go and sleep in the trees at night to hide. And that's going to be the safer time for the females to give birth. You can see they don't have as much movement in the tail. The vivid monkey spear as well. The still face is blunter, if you can put it like that. Over. So they'll still use that tail for communication and to some degree balance when they're climbing, but they're more of a ground species rather than a tree dwelling. Spend much more time in the trees than on the floor. Occasionally the vervet monkey can also be harmed by the baboons. So again, it depends on the troops in the area and the circumstances. Oh, there's the big male. I don't know, can we see this tree? Can you see that? Maybe I should move forward a little bit. Oh, you can see it.
No, I can't see it exactly.
Okay, I'm just going to move forward a little bit so you can see the big male. Maybe see the impala a little bit better too. Now, unfortunately, I haven't spent enough time with them to really get to know their faces and their personalities. So I'm not entirely sure which male this is. It could be Tankman, but I'm not entirely sure. Very graceful there. I think I counted 7 out the Gary gang. And just next to the impala there's one of the youngsters, maybe about 2 or 3 years old now. Well, it looks like it's their time to move on. So let's do the same. It's always great catching up with the Gary gang and just seeing how they're doing and what they're up to, and especially with those 2 babies. It's nice to see how they're developing and getting on. And now they're jumping off their mums, they're starting to explore their environment a little bit more, which is always great to see. Oh, there they are again. You can see the baby starting to ride on the back and using the tail as a backrest. Here comes the next mum. She's also got her baby underneath her belly. It's going to be more difficult for her to walk with it under her belly. So it's going to be riding on her back a lot more as they get older. And there goes the impala. Keeping up with them too by the looks of it. If anybody can help me out by finding out the name of those monkeys that associate with the cheetah or the axis deer. So I always keep forgetting the name of it. It'd be nice to have the name of those monkeys. It's on the tip of my tongue. Looks like there were some buffalo that came through here at some stage. Relationship as the baboons and the impala here in Africa. I think they actually look similar to the vervet monkeys out here in Africa. It's the river, well, stream. Little LB. So I think what we're going to do is have a look around Rebecca's Road in Dublin. See that? But so far, no sign. I did briefly head down towards Treehouse Dam, but couldn't find anything around there just before, so we're going to go back out onto quarantine, have a look around there. So take Rebecca's Road. This is wonderful. They're actually getting quite relaxed around us now, and I think possibly seeing Graham with us when around them and him not reacting to us, maybe we've given them a positive influence. Maybe they realise that not all humans are bad. So unfortunately there is a bit of a human conflict with baboons in certain areas where people have caused a problem without realising it. As soon as baboons get food easy, unfortunately that's when you start to see aggression from baboons. And unfortunately especially down in Cape Town, there's a very big problem. And around that area. And some baboons go as far as breaking into people's houses. They are incredibly intelligent animals, and we have had one or two problems here around camp, and we've managed to find that the house maybe isn't baboon proof as what we thought. So we have had to have a close look at that and try and make sure that we've got ways to stop the baboons getting into the house. It seems to have worked so far. So they have stopped coming around and raiding the bins and getting into. But thankfully they haven't, because we haven't actually fed them directly from hand, which has happened elsewhere. They still haven't made that association that if they intimidate humans, they'll get food. They just know where to go where humans live. There may be easy access. So if ever you do go on holiday to Africa, where there are baboons, one thing I must ask is please don't ever feed a baboon, because you will create a problem where baboons do become aggressive towards people and try and force them to take food from them. And as you can see, baboons, as long as you don't try and give them food, you'll see that they will not be aggressive and they won't be dangerous. As long as you keep that respect there, that line. And it actually goes for any animal. If you try and start hand feeding any animal, there are animals that can become dangerous. And primates is definitely. Even just a few months ago, there's no way we would have gotten this close. You can see the big male there. I'm not going to stay too long. Wait for them now to going past them, but even at this distance, we're probably about 5 meters away. And they're very relaxed now, which is really wonderful. Going about their business, finding food and ignoring us. And that's absolutely perfect for just observing their behaviour. Which is what we like to do. So let's head towards Rebecca's Road, have a look around for Duna, see if he's around. Then we'll head up towards Gallego Shortcut, I think. Onto Bucklesuck line, see if those lines are still around there. And then head into the east and see if there's any more sign of Karula. Oh, beautiful. It's probably the closest I've been to a woodland kingfisher. Absolutely fantastic. It seems to be quite relaxed. So it would scare it off. Beautiful. Now you notice it had a full white chest. And we do have a kingfisher here. I think Mark had one on drive a few weeks ago. And the difference being it's got a chestnut belly. That's quite a quick way to determine if you're not too sure. Such a beautiful fisher. Like birds and insects rather than fish. Hi, Laurie. No, I mentioned property, and you're actually able to see that. We did make a diary that's on Facebook. If you look back through the diaries there, then we actually give you a tour around camp, and that includes final control, so where Craig is sitting right now in the director's chair. Mark takes you through where I stay and where Kat now stays. She's in Herman's old room, and where Mark stays, where our little kitchen is. It's because we have quite a large team now, we needed some extra room. So the other room is just down this road. House is half a kilometre, maybe a kilometre from the main camp. It's just a drive back and forwards. So when we talk about we have our dinner there, we have a nicer kitchen there. That's where Craig and Herman and Sebastian stay. And we drive up and down to have dinner there. So whenever you've heard that we've seen animals on the way back from dinner, this is the quarantine area, and we drive down to camp. So if you read on the blogs or read any messages on Facebook that we've seen animals on the way to or from dinner or just around quarantine area, that's where everything is. So if anybody has a map, I think I've just seen. Yeah, definitely from this morning there's some raindrops in it. Yeah. So, what we call Inga's house, where we have dinner and where Sebastian and Herman stay and Craig. Inga's house, and that's on the southern side of the quarantine area. Ooh, lilac breasted rose. I think that was the first European roller that I've just seen. It looked more blue than anything. I think that was the European roller. Just about to get my binoculars out. lilac breasts are just a little bit smaller. So with the glare of the sun, I couldn't see the colours until I had a closer look. It's got a full blue breast rather than pink or lilac and blue. And the other part of camp is on the northern side, just behind Forktailed Lodge. So we don't stay at the lodge, we stay behind the lodge. So hopefully that's cleared it up for you there, Laurie. And maybe some other people also wondering where we live. And we don't have any fences around, we just have one strand of electric fence to stop the elephants coming in. Apparently they did take to eating plants in the gardens and things like that of some of the staff, so that was the strand put up to stop them coming through, but anything else can come through, and it does come through. From the baboons sometimes come to visit us, the leopards. We've had Mishu walk right past, and actually if you watch that video of the diary, the path that Mark walked on to show you where the rooms are. Mishu done in Karula the night she was mating outside with him, outside my room. And probably Induna's walked that same path too. And there's a little genet that comes to visit us. Little genets around. Hyenas, they come around sometimes. I hear them outside my room. So we are living right in amongst the thick of it. And then during the winter time, we also get some interesting animals coming during the day. Like Nyala, the females are getting quite relaxed with us at one stage, the males as well as the females. Kudu had warthog, quite a large warthog actually, a few days ago. Bushbuck, a female daker, she was coming to visit on a fairly regular basis. And of course the birds too. There's a family of crested guinea fowl, crested francolins coming to visit. A pair of hornbills and their offspring, both yellow-billed and red-billed. Actually, the yellow-billed are still around, and we thought they were going to nest in the tree just at the back of the fire pit where we have fireside chats. Sadly, no such luck. I think they've chosen the tree a bit further away. Is there anything else I've missed, Sebastian? Do you remember what else comes through? Sorry? Yeah, nothing. I think I've got everything. So quite a variation there. Oh, and a colony of dwarf mongoose lived in Bubble right. I remember sitting there one night at dinner and we just heard, it was after market closed down and we had the huge herd at Gowrie Dam. And we all went up to have dinner and we were sitting outside on the steps. And you just heard the buffalo herd walking, the buffalo herd, walking for a good 10-15 minutes. The sound went on, maybe even 20-25 minutes. Right next to the fence. Another roller, and there he goes again. Still looking close. giraffes. There were some giraffes around here earlier. Oh, and a little bat! What about a little bat? Did have a bat in the house. I haven't seen it for a while. Oh yes, and monitors. We just found we've got a monitor. Baby monitors. Oh, and an adult as well. I think the guys saw the monitors a couple of days ago. And the geckos have moved into final control. Got a couple in mind, keeping all the... And of course I've been visited by... this big on my foot. And it turned out to be one of the most toxic scorpions out of the lot. It's quite fun. And the whole reason why I was on my foot in the first place is because it was actually drowning. It climbed onto my foot for safety. When I did kick it off, I rescued it and let it go in the bush. And I was able to the more potent venom. It's more likely to use its tail to kill rather than its pincers. So the toxin is going to be a lot more potent than that of a hauler-tailed scorpion. And generally they are going to have much larger pincers because they actually use their pincers to overpower the prey rather than using the venom first. They just use the venom to immobilize it afterwards, after they've caught it. So you have some welcome visitors as well as unwelcome visitors. Oh, and the snake as well. As I think about it, we've actually had quite a lot of animals visiting us in camp. We have the snouted spitting cobra. Amongst others, we did have... What else did we have? We had a spotted bush snake. I can't control. Ankies. Almost forgot about them. I had them all sitting around me eating lunch yesterday actually. And there's one particular female and she's quite cheeky and she'll sit there not too far away from you and she looks at you and she thinks she can stare you down from look at you and try and use that puppy dog eye look. Ooh, forktailed drongo through in the tree. Very close. It's on the end of the branch there. This is my favourite bird, one of my favourite birds. And they've got such character. See that deep fork in its tail at the end? Oh, there he goes. Hi Peggy. I think I beat you to it, wanting to know if I had any, or if we've had any snakes in camp. But the spitting cobra was quite a fun experience. And contrary to popular belief, they're not aggressivity of naught. And I've actually had this experience twice now, where a spitting cobra has been within meters of us. And the first time I was sitting with a colleague on the steps to my room on the old reserve. I was sat there chatting away, and all of a sudden just see a snake out the corner of my eye, probably about a meter behind him. And as I go, oh, snake! The snake goes, oh, human! And kind of moves off in its... Quite happy, it didn't even bother us at all, it was just carrying on its own business, looking for frogs. And it was the same experience this time. I was sat there in the old final control with Emily, chatting on the sofa. And I just see the snake come in. And so I turned around to Emily and said, I think we need to move now. I've just seen possibly a spitting cobra, and I wasn't overly sure at that stage because it had banding on the top of it, which I haven't seen before, but it shouldn't go off of coloration, you should go off of different characteristics, skin characteristics, and I thought I saw banding on the chest, which is very characteristic of the spitting cobra, and I couldn't see the eye, which is quite a pale eye, and it only raises the hood when it feels threatened. That's the only time that cobras will raise the hoods, so it looks like any other snake at that stage. It's quite a dull colour. So we left the room. I couldn't see it anymore, and went to grab. Somebody had the right snake equipment. We've got some, but it's always better if someone has better equipment than you and safely take out the snake, which is. No, the only time we actually saw it rear up was when it feels threatened. And that's generally when a snake will bite. It won't just bite out of spite. Because that venom is very precious to it, and if it wastes it on something it can't eat like a human, it's going to have to make some more venom before it can eat again. So it rather intimidates you by raising a hood or hissing or puffing itself out, making itself look bigger. Try and get you to move away from it rather than waste its venom on you. There are some snakes that have the most potent venom, and yet they're the most placid snakes you'll ever meet. I think the sad thing is about snakes, they're very misunderstood. And people are more likely to try and kill it, and that's when they're more likely to be bitten. Just think about if somebody threatens your life and you have a knife with you, and it gets to that point where it really feels like you're going to die. Are you going to use that knife, or are you just going to go, oh no, stop? You're going to use what you have, and that's the same with a snake. The only thing it really has to protect it is its teeth. So if it gets So the golden rule, you see a snake, you don't know what it is, move away from it. I'm just looking along the road for any signs of Induna. Any sign of the giraffes. I haven't seen any sign of Induna, apart from the old tracks from this morning. So I think we're going to continue north. Maybe we should check out, there's a little two-track. Have to see how wet it is. See how far we get along the little two-track. Looks like somebody's already driven it. Oops. Whoops. Finding the bushes. It's alright, Sebastian's fine, I didn't lose him.
Wait, it wasn't a buffalo soul.
Yeah, it wasn't a buffalo storm, we're fine. At the back. And they never say a word.
See that?
Right? Sorry. Okay, mind the branch. Hi Lisa. Lisa wanting to know if we've had the fortune or misfortune of having a bronzefang in camp. And that's actually one of those snakes that I was saying can be one of the most potent venoms. Okay, I need to keep my speed up a little bit here. And yet, being one of the snakes least likely to bite you, it's actually quite a relaxed snake. But so far, I don't think we have had a boomslang in camp. But I have had a boomslang a few times. At the lodge I used to work at, or lodges I used to work at. Oh, no sign of Induna there. Oh yeah, branch by the way. You're looking out for them now, eh? The vine or the twig snake, in that they have a venom called hematoxin, and if they bite you, you will bleed continuously, and that's basically how you die. It's quite a nasty venom. Well, all of them are nasty, but that one's particularly nasty, and it may take you a few days to die. But having said that, it's a snake that's least likely to bite you. I think there's only 2 recorded deaths by vine snakes, and both of those were snake handlers. And they got too blasé or something along those lines, and that's why they got bitten. But they are such a beautiful snake though, and I've seen quite a number of them. They've got quite a large eye. And that's one of the diagnostic features of them. That's one of the features you look for to identify it. This bright, very, very large eye. Females are brown. Males are light green in colour. And just to make it really interesting, the juveniles are mucked. They tend to have a green iris with a black pupil. Well, Induna has decided to hide for a little while longer, so that's all the road I can check for the time being. So we're going to try and come back a little bit later. I'm not too sure where the herd of impala are. If we can find them, then maybe but for now we're going to continue on. Head north. Onto Brooklyn line. See if the lion's still around. Have a quick look at them, because you never know where we might have lions again, so it'd be great to catch up with them while we still hopefully have them around. And then on to the east, where I didn't get a chance to have a look for tracks. And boomslang, the best way to look for them is to look for them in the trees, so the best place to look for them. And that's a direct translation, actually. Tree snake. In Afrikaans. Good afternoon, stations. Is there any stations within Ghana? Well, thank you. I did a bit earlier. There's Lutu. I've also tried to relocate the ingwe from this morning, and so far Lutu. I'm going to try going back a little bit. Hyena's been walking down here. Vicky. I'm glad you enjoyed the kingfisher. It's beautiful. It's the closest I've got to the woodland kingfisher. And Vicky wanting to know what the smallest bird here is in South Africa. And also, do we have any hummingbirds? And hummingbirds we don't have. We have something similar, but it's a different family. But we don't have the hummingbird. We have the sunbird instead. I believe it is the bee hummingbird that's the smallest bird in the world. But here in South Africa, it's supposed to be the Cape pendulum tit. I'll say supposedly because there's a little bit of a debate whether the Cape pendulum tit is, or I forget the other one. I think it's I think there's a little waxbill that's also maybe a contender for that title. But usually the Cape pendulum tit is the smallest. I'll see if we can catch up with these lions and maybe see if I can find a picture for you in the bird book. Quite interesting little birds too, and they have a nest. But they have a false entrance, and just below the false entrance is the true entrance to the nest. And it almost looks like a weaver bird nest. Using different materials. It's quite interesting because the entrance to the nest is on the top of the nest rather than underneath like the weaver birds. Length for you. I think it's like around 4 or 5 centimeters long, something like that. Now the question is, are we going to have a roadblock? Or are they going to be... Ooh, another tortoise. Quick little one. I'll go this side, then we're not going to disturb them too much. This time it looks like... No, don't reverse. Shame. Looks like a hingeback tortoise. Quite a long shell and not as dome-shaped as the leopard tortoise we saw earlier. And you may have seen the legs, the back end open a lot more than the leopard tortoise. Actually amazed at how many tortoises we have been seeing, and especially the Spake's hinged tortoise, which is what that was, or hingeback tortoise, full name. And one of the differences between them, apart from the hinge and the shape of the carapace, the top part of the shell, is the diet. Hinged tortoises tend to be more omnivores. They'll eat fungus and millipedes and snails, as well as vegetation. But the leopard tortoise tends to be more vegetarian, eating maybe forbs and succulents, other vegetation, and also they'll eat carnivore dung, especially that of hyena with all the calcium. Standing by? Copy that. I think it's just you and myself interested. Hopefully going to locate them in the next minute or so. Move from here. Ah, there he is. There's both males. So I think we worked out these two honeymooners of started mating the night that they made the kill. On the fire break. I think that was around the 20th. We're around day 4 of the mating. Generally they'll mate for 2 to 3 days, but that is the average, and as Mark said, he's actually known matings to continue for 7, 8, even 9 days. Generally a female will be in estrus for about 4 days or so. Obviously out like a light. So it's still the bigger male of the two that's mating with her by the looks of it, and the other Gajima male sitting close by. So lucky to really be able to document this, because it's very rare you get a chance to see lions mating and even be able to follow through on a daily process as we have been. We've been able to see them every day, and I think it's very important to try and see them as much as possible, because there's a lot of questions that people ask, and because it's a behaviour that's not really seen too often, it's nice to get another sighting where we can actually see this behaviour. And the more sightings that you have, as to understand what could be one pair of lions may be different for another pair of lions that may be different for another pair. So the greater variety that you have, the more you can understand and see what's the normal, what's abnormal, and his other brother there, still waiting, lighter in colour and not reaching as far down the back as his brother, who's mating with the Unkahuma female. But I am hoping that maybe this pride is going to spend a bit more time on our property, and with any luck we might even see cubs. Gestation period being about 100 days, roughly about 3 months. And again, just like the leopards, she'll hide them away for a good 6 weeks or so before introducing them to the pride. Hi Peggy, welcome on board this afternoon, great to hear from you too. I'm wanting to know, do I think that they've eaten since they've been mating? I think they're pretty full still from the buffalo, so I don't think that they have eaten, but if the opportunity presents itself, maybe if something walks it. But maybe if they roar to say that they've got something, they may respond and go and eat. I have seen it. I have also heard from some of the other guys that they haven't seen lions eating during mating. So again, I think it's one of those things that there's no real right and wrong answer, or yes and no answer to do they eat during the mating period. But she certainly looked interested a couple of days ago, whether it was movement from a prey species or movement from the other lions, we couldn't see, but something did catch her attention. Hi Michael. Michael wanting to know, why do lions mate so many times? And they mate average around 15 minutes or so, and that'll be through the night as well as during the day, and usually around 2 to 3 days. But as this pair of and we saw that behaviour, the males were testing her urine to see if she was an estrus. and we didn't see any mating before the buffalo kill. We didn't see any mating the first day that we saw them. I think Mark was lucky enough to see maybe one of the first mating. So the first few matings will stimulate the release of the egg. Now you saw she turned round and growled at him, and she growls as he's mating with her, and that's got to be quite painful because there's actually barbs on the penis of the male, and that will stimulate the, and once they've released, then those further matings will then fertilize those eggs, the offspring. And she may, once she's in estrus, she may accept other less dominant males. So if, say for example, this pride didn't have the Kojima males here, maybe there was a rogue male around, a nomadic male, and maybe he manages to start mating with her and start stimulating her. If those Kojima males then get to this female, maybe a day or so later, and it's on their territory, and they chase off the nomadic male, and they start to mate with the female, being slightly more dominant maybe than that male, then they're more likely to sire their offspring. And those offspring might be more likely to survive because they're more dominant, they maybe have stronger genes, and with them being maybe the territory holders, then they're more likely to hold on to that territory, and maybe less likely for those cubs to die from other males taking over that territory. And that could be the reason behind it. Through to a yearling. High mortality rate for lions, and maybe if, say, 1 out of all of that survive. Being a lion, it may look easy now with blazing around that they're doing, but you can see well and truly who's told off then. And a big hello to Jackie's class. Welcome on board this afternoon. I hope you enjoying the lions. And the class wanting to know how old the lions are. You can see the female, she's got a pink nose. Midway through her life. I'd say she's not a huge lioness. So I'd probably put her to really tell for sure how old a lion is. And these Gajima males, the big male lions, you'll see that it's quite long, so they're quite old. So maybe one of the viewers can help me out and find out how old the Gajima males are. But I'd probably put them around 9 years old, something like that. But I'm sure somebody can help me out with their ages, and maybe even that of the Nkahuma lioness that we've got here. Now males will start to grow their mane when they're about, but even when they're cubs you can see quite fluffy faces, more than that of a female lion. So even from a young age you might be able to see a little bit of growth around the head, but you really start to see it after about mane. Is to help protect him if he does have a fight with another male, and also now I did start to roar a little bit earlier, and I'm hoping that we might hear him again. I'm not going to spend too much more time with them, but it is wonderful to still see them around. We'll stay another 5 or 10 minutes. Oh, she keeps yawning again. think she's starting to get irritated with him. You see the tail twitching. She's moving away from him. As I say, we'll give them a couple more minutes. And then we'll very well groomed. And even just watching the male really does bring it home at how much of a cat they really are. Licking the paw and washing the face. It is. And you're very right. It has got a little bit overcast. There's a big cloud covering the sun, and that's one of the reasons why we're seeing the lions right out in the road now. In the heat of the day, they'll find a shelter underneath the bush. And lounge around in the sandy soil. This could be the end of the mating. She seems to be turning him away. And when it is, she'll probably make her way back to them. We can maybe pull back a little bit more. She might just turn around and try and bite him again. Well, now I feel like I'm intruding. So I think let's leave them to it. It certainly seems to be the right time to leave them. Stations leaving me and guard on Pacific line opening up. So still on the lookout for rhino and buffalo. We've been seeing buffalo every day on drive. And then the day that's very close to having a big 5 drive day. No, don't run. I just want to say hello to you. A bit of an angle. There's not too much I can do at the moment. her family were on that side. Or that... Unless she's finding somewhere to give birth. Doesn't too relaxed. Yes, I was going to show you a picture of the Cape Pendulum tip, wasn't I? Just size there. The smallest bird in South Africa. Sorry, and the grey as well, which is next door to it actually. Also around 8 centimetres. So the pendulum tits basically. The grey on the right. Forgot to show you a little bit earlier. Plenty of buffalo tracks this afternoon. Actually, just thinking I've been playing with a dung beetle for a while. I can keep a look out for those too. As we're going further into the season of dung beetles, a lot of them have already made their brood balls and laid their eggs.